up, what up, what up? It's time for Disclosure TV. Yeah, that was stupid, wasn't it? You know, it's just by chance. I used to be a sports commentator in my state. So, I don't know why I have such a hard time talking, I guess. I haven't done it in years, so. But anyway, everybody, let's see if this is working correctly. Like it's swirling around on my end. Oh yeah. All right. Everybody, welcome to Disclosure TV. Yes, that was a new intro, and I like it better than the old one. Mainly because all my videos were having a copyright claim put on them because of a siren, and that siren is somehow connected to Drop a Bomb on Me, and Def Jam kept putting a copyright claim on everything I owned. So I changed it a little. Plus I needed to change the words on it. So anyway, welcome to today's show. It's what's happening in Venezuela, what's going on with the Venezuelan crisis. Is there really a crisis? Why did the CIA go down to Venezuela? Why did the United States have a secret meeting with Venezuela? And it's probably not what a lot of people think it is. And a lot of people may think it's over oil. I don't think so. If you notice, every time if you noticed, the media in the United States claim that we get most of our oil a majority of our oil from Venezuela. If you haven't noticed, every time we get in a conflict with anyone, and I employ you to go and check this out, every country we get into a conflict with, we for some reason get we get the majority of our oil from that country. And I just don't think Venezuela, we don't go down to Venezuela. The United States does not give two craps about South America, anywhere, Brazil, any of them. So why did the CIA go down there? Okay, so right now, everybody is fleeing Venezuela because of Maduro, which is the newly re-elected president, newly re-elected self-appointed maybe president. So what happened there was Maduro's has taken over since, I think he's been president since maybe 2004, I think. Maybe 2012 maybe. And since then the oil industry in Venezuela has dropped down to producing less than 1.5 million barrels of oil. And the United States says that's where all their oil comes from. I don't believe that. I believe the United States does get oil from everyone, because the United States sells the oil we make in the United States and exports that so it can be sold. And why we just don't keep it ourselves is a money thing, because they would have to sell it cheaply to us, and they don't want to do that. And as a matter of fact, if you go on MSNBC, Fox Business, you can hear the analysts complain and the company owners of the oil companies complain that the oil prices are just not high enough. And it's going to cause a problem in the economy. I don't believe that crap. At one point in time, they complain that they're too high. The citizens complain that it's too high, and then the owners and the analysts, stock market analysts, come out and say, "Oh, it's not high enough. It's not being sold enough. We're not selling enough oil. We're selling too much oil." That's all a money thing, and you know what? I don't care about money on this show. I really don't. I mean, every bit of this goes back to a money thing, but I just don't care about money. All of it goes back to money. It's horrible. Anyway, so let's go back. Right now we're on this page right now. If you can see it, it says fleeing Venezuela's crushing economy crisis. All the citizens are fleeing Venezuela. There's too much violence. There's no food. There's no money. Inflation is up something like 1,000%. A vegetable cost or their money is so badly inflated or de-inflated, or it costs like 6.3 million of whatever they have, which is 40 cents US, to buy a green pepper. So 6.3 million of whatever they use is 40 cents here. So don't bring that money here. Won't get, but if you have 6.3 million of whatever currency they have, it's only 40 cents here. So, but everybody's fleeing there, and there's a huge humanitarian crisis caused by Maduro. Maduro is a scumbag. Since he has been elected president, both times he has been elected president, he has, since both times he's been elected president, every time he runs, or he has an opponent run against him, they come up missing or murdered. They end up in prison. They're banned from running against him. It's essentially a communist government. That's what it is. That's what Maduro is. Maduro is a communist government, and he's just as bad as the rest of the communist leaders that always try to do all the bad crap that they do to get elected and to stay elected and to stay within power. And Maduro has run the oil industry there into the ground. He's run the economy into the ground, all because also he can pay money, or also he can keep his money. And that's what that's what he does, and that's what he's done this time. So now, as you know, everybody thinks that this is all about oil. So, as I said, if you look at the screen right here, I'll zoom in for you a little more. Hyperinflation has been such a burden that the new currency recently issued at a conversion rate of 100,000 bolivars to one sovereign bolivar. The rate of inflation might reach 1,000,000% this year. Just this week, several new economic measures will take effect, including more than 3,000% hike in minimum wage. 3,000%. And this is August 21st, 2018. You know, this is what people are leaving Venezuela in large groups of 10,000 or more, heading to Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia. They're heading everywhere. Peru. They're headed everywhere. This is a stack of money right here. This is 2.6 million bolivars, and that's 40 cents US. That's how much that piece of toilet paper costs. Or that toilet paper costs. That's horrible. All because one man wants to rule it. All so he can be also he could be have all the money and rule the country. So everybody wants to know what really happened. Everybody, there's no power. People are hurrying to buy food. There's no food. People are using, and this goes back to what I was saying. If SHFT happens, if the United States falls, money is not going to, gold and silver is not going to be worth anything. I'm going to tell you that now. It's not. This right here, what I'm pointing at, this right here, that's flour, that's food. That is going to be currency. Packages of corn flour are used as payment for haircuts in a barber shop in Caracas, June 29, 2018. That's what I'm saying. Nobody cares about gold or silver anymore. If the currency of any country falls, nowadays, times have changed. Nobody cares about how much a shiny rock costs. You can't stick a shiny rock in your mouth and swallow it and be fulfilled and get necessary nutrients from it. People have learned their lesson about currency. Currency, it only costs something because it does. Only because somebody says it does. Sorry about that. Food, necessities, has a value because it keeps you alive. And that's what people want. They want to stay alive. People have learned their lesson over the last 2,000 years. So let's get back to this. All this stuff's happening. Well, a lot of people don't know that what is actually happening is not an oil problem or what's causing all this humanitarian crisis, is that it's all over Russia. All over Russia. Russia is the reason for all this happening. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Russia themselves is trying to move into the United States back door or backyard. That's what they're doing. And that's why the CIA was sent down to Venezuela. This is 1962 all over again. This is the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again. Venezuela is not the focus of this. Venezuela is Russia's second play. Russia has their eye on something else, not this. So, what does Russia have their eye on? Russia has their eye on Cuba once again. October 29, 2019, Putin's meeting with Cuba's appointed president comes with a $50 million loan for weapons. Not only that, for the last year, Russia has been giving Cuba money, food aid, medical aid, all over the last year, and nobody's paid any attention to it. Like this right here. This is the Miami Herald. Putin has his eye on Cuba once again, just like the USSR did in 1960s. And how that came out, as you're probably like, how does that work when it was Cuba, the United States, and Russia? A lot of people don't know that Turkey was also involved in that. All because the United States had nuclear weapons planted in Turkey. So it was Turkey, and this was all during the Cold War. So let me get back to my proof about why this is not an oil thing for the United States. And the United States knows this is not an oil thing. That's just what they're telling you. This is a Russia thing. They don't want Russia to move into Venezuela because that would be them moving near us and having a military base near us, and they don't want that to happen. So here's how this went down. So the United States found out more than likely that Russia was probably going to head down to Venezuela and start maybe putting a military base there. So as you can see right here, Russian nuclear capable bomber aircraft fly to Venezuela, angering U.S. Okay, so during this, Russia has decided to move into Venezuela. So let me read you something I wrote. It'll probably be a little bit easier to and all this is really, really simple. Okay. All this is actually really simple. So this whole ordeal is because Russia seems to want to put a base in Venezuela. If Maduro got elected, then Russia would have a base. If Maduro got elected, then Russia would have a base in Venezuela. So the guy that's the opponent that ran against Maduro, he's still alive. And that's odd because either, like I said, either all his opponents end up dead, in prison, or banned from running. And it just so happens that he's not, which means he has protection. Do you remember that the CIA went to Venezuela to interfere in their election? They're down there. They were down there protecting him, and that's how that happened. So CIA chief Hint's agency is working to change Venezuelan government. This is July 2017. The head of the CIA has suggested that the agency is working to change the selected government of Venezuela and is collaborating with 2 countries in the region to do so. Alright, so next. If Maduro got elected, Russia would then have a base in Venezuela. The United States doesn't want that. Russia flew some jets there anyway. They started, they put some jets there because they want Russia wants Venezuela as an ally. If the Russia can put a military base close to us, that would be great. But as I said, Venezuela is not the real play. That's their secondary option. They're fine with that. So the U.S. sent the CIA to screw crap up so Maduro wouldn't get elected, which they did. They did send, like I just showed you, they did. Riots, murders, all the chaos you're seeing on TV, all that, the CIA caused all that. And they caused all that after Maduro took over because the other guy lost the election. And like I said, he's lucky he's still alive, the opponent for Maduro. So if the CIA could get the other guy elected, which he probably knows about the whole plan and the CIA is protecting him, then no Russian base in Venezuela would be there would be no Russian base, and Venezuela would be an economic miracle over the next year. And that's if they got the other guy elected. Then that's what would have happened. If they would have got the other guy elected, the United States would have helped. The CIA was helping the other guy to get elected. The United States would have gave them all kinds of crap, anything they wanted, just so they can keep a Russian military base out of the country. So, plus, if the CIA wasn't helping Maduro's opponent, he would have already disappeared or been locked up and couldn't run like he did the rest of his opponents. That's how you know someone's protecting him. Anyway, back to the simple thing. So the opponent didn't get elected. The CIA failed. Maduro was president. That caused the U.S. to pucker. Their assholes puckered pretty much. They then brought in the UN and went public, which they just did. They wanting to put all kinds of sanctions on them. After their secret mission with Venezuela didn't work out, they turned around and went public with the UN because then they had no other options. So if the CIA can't do it by a mission, and that's the way the United States works. If they can't get anything done secretly and covertly, they then turn around and go to the UN and cry to them, basically. So, they then brought in the UN and went public, showing all the bad stuff happening, which the CIA caused all the chaos. They caused all the riots. The U.S. will cripple the country or go to war, one or the other. All because Maduro is in there. All to keep Russia out of the U.S.'s backyard. But is that it? Hell no. Russia put 2 planes on a base, and the U.S. jumped up and threw a fit. Where's Russia in all this? Staying quiet. And they are. They're not saying hardly nothing. They just put 2 planes there, and then they turned around and warned the U.S. not to intervene. That's it. That's all they said. They're not actually doing anything else. Absolutely nothing. And they've been doing that for a while. They tell them Russia tells the United States not to mess with the country, and then that's it. They don't say anything else. So, where's Russia in all this staying quiet? Venezuela isn't Russia's play. It's their second option. Russia's play is Cuba. That's right, Cuba. It's a distraction. Hey, look over here while I sweet talk Cuba and stick a Russian military base on your front porch, like they did in 1962. What's the proof? Russia has been sending millions of food aid, medical, and money to buy military equipment to Cuba over the last year. Just like it shows in the news. Now, if Russia can't get Cuba, that's a bad loss for them. But they can still get their second choice, Venezuela, because Maduro's president. And still scare the crap out of the U.S. with a military base. Now it's either that's what's happening. So either that's what's happening going on, either Russia see like this Venezuelan opposition banned from running in 2018 election. Nicolas Maduro banned him from running. And the CIA went down there and said, and the CIA needed the government to change to keep the Russian government out of there and to keep a Russian military base from there. All this is over Russia. It's not over oil at all. So either that's clearly what's going on, is that they're trying to keep Russia. They're secretly trying to keep Russia out of Venezuela. However, as I said, Russia's play isn't Venezuela. Russia's play is Cuba. And just like in 1962, Russia secretly put 12 nuclear war silos, built 12 nuclear war silos in Cuba while they was over there messing with Turkey. And that's what they did. There was a military coup in Turkey, and the U.S. had nuclear war heads there. They had nuclear over 100, so I think 100. And while the Turkey was having a military coup, or the government was having a coup in Turkey, which is exactly what's going on right this second in Venezuela, is Maduro is having a coup and has the military on his side. Russia right now is probably sneaking in Cuba's back door. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. So either this is happening, which you can get about two more things. Either this right, this is, I'm pretty sure this is what's happening. But if I'm wrong, there's two other things that can happen. Russia is trying to provoke the United States into a conflict that will be their fault and make them look like the bad guy. So then every country will hate them. The UN will stop backing them. The boom, the U.S. just lost the rest of its superpower abilities and curl up and cry, or the U.S. is going to be blown to hell. Proof? The U.S. has a problem with North Korea. Okay? Russia says don't mess with them. U.S. has a problem with Syria. Russia says don't mess with them. U.S. has a problem with Venezuela. Russia says don't mess with them. All in the last 2 years. Russia involved in all of them while they still sit back and only say don't mess with them, and that's it. They come out publicly and say don't mess with those countries, and that's it. Russia is doing something conniving. Either way, Russia is trying its best to take down the U.S., and the plans are in motion. And more than likely, Russia is probably the ones who gave North Korea the nuclear weapons to start all this crap off. And Russia moved them across the border. Isn't it odd that Russia all of a sudden started training at the Russian-North Korean border right before the launch, or right before the North Korean launches? They needed to move nukes across the border. Training was their excuse. Proof? They released it to the press that they were training near the border. All of this is a big setup by Russia and the military, and their military, and the U.S. is falling for it. That's what's happening. This has nothing to do with oil in Venezuela. All of a sudden, they're all over Venezuela. United States has cared nothing about anybody in South America as far as I've known. I'm 36 years old, and I don't know of any time we've been having a problem in Venezuela, or that the United States even cares anything about any country in the southern hemisphere. And like I said, this is a whole lot easier to figure out. It's really simple. So, what's going on is Russia wants a base in somewhere near the U.S. So, they've got Venezuela is their backup. They really want Cuba. If they could put and if they do get Cuba, if Russia can put a military base in Cuba, the United States will never get Russia out of there this time. Never. They're too powerful. They're way too powerful. So, again, if nobody understands what's happening in Russia, so, as I said, the United States does not care about oil in Venezuela. Maduro is Russia wants to put a military base in Venezuela, the United States doesn't want them there. That's what they're trying to prevent. Why send the CIA to a country that has nothing for the United States? The United States has zero interest there. Zero interest. So, the United States government found out that Maduro was going to let them put a military base there. And this is an article from July 2017. CIA chief hints agency is working to change Venezuelan government. So they went down there. They're still there. They're trying to change the government. The CIA then, Maduro, they go down there. They try to help the guy that's going against Maduro in the presidential election in Venezuela. They try to help him win, just as this says. Venezuela, or not this one, U.S. officials secretly meet with Venezuelan military officers plotting a coup against Maduro. This is September 8th, 2018. This is before the election. They're helping Maduro's opposition, and that's what they went down there for. They didn't want Maduro president because if Maduro was still president, he would allow Russia to put a military base there. So the United States sent the CIA down there to cause freaking chaos. And the only reason they caused all this chaos was after Maduro won the election. He won it by fraud. All the election was a big fraud. It wasn't correct. Dude, you should see the voting boxes. I think there was a problem with the voting boxes. There was a problem with the votes. He was in the cities. He was sticking. Usually when there's an election in Venezuela, everybody from their district goes to their own rightful place. He closed all those and he closed all those in the large cities and had them all go to one building to make the line so long that people wouldn't want to vote. Maduro is not a good person. He kills his own people. People go missing all the time. So anyway, so the CIA went down there, like I said. CIA went down there. They just admitted that they went down there, and they turned around and said, "No, we didn't go down there." They went down there. They tried to help the Maduro's opponent out. Well, Maduro ended up rigging the election anyway, and he won. Well, now the government's saying that no, that now the U.S. is saying no, you rigged the election. You're not president. This other guy's president. After that, the CIA starts causing all this shit happening. All this crap. People are fleeing the city. People are fleeing Venezuela. There's no food. The inflation's increased a million percent. Hyperinflation's going up even further. Nurses are protesting the government. People are leaving the state. There's no electricity. There's no food. People are paying with flour, food. They're using food as currency. There's no medicine. There's hardly no gas. People are living like this. So the CIA went down there and went freaking haywire. So the CIA went down there and went haywire. So now that the CIA went down there and went haywire, and Maduro is calling himself the president again, the newly elected president, the U.S. is worried that Russia's going to swing in there. Well, Russia did swing in there. This is Russia swinging in there. Right here, there's 2 nuclear bombers that Russia sent into Venezuela. But they just sent 2 planes. They haven't sent anything else. They just turned around and told the United States, don't mess with Venezuela. That was it. They haven't said anything else. They sent 2 planes and then told them not to mess with Venezuela. That was it. Why is Russia only doing that little bit of stuff and that's it? They're not doing anything else. Just like they're not doing anything else with North Korea after the United States was messing with North Korea. Syria. The United States told Russia agreed with pulling out troops from Syria. They wanted them out of there. They told them not to mess with Syria. Or Iran, or one of them. They told them not to. But after that, nothing else was said. That's because Russia does not care. Russia's play is on Cuba. This is Russia's play. Giving Cuba millions and millions and millions of dollars. The Russian government has granted Cuba a $50 million loan to buy Russian military equipment just days before Cuba's handpicked president Miguel Diaz-Canel is scheduled to meet with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Cuba also has plans to buy industrial equipment through their commercial contracts with Russia. The Cuban news agency reported that Ricardo Cabrazas, or I guess, vice president of the Council of Ministers, and Yuri Borisov, first prime minister of Russia, would head the bilateral commission meeting, but gave no further details. The meetings coincide with the second Russian Latin America and Caribbean Business Forum held for the first time in Havana. Faced with cooling relations with the United States and deteriorating conditions in Venezuela, a key ally, the Cuban government has been strengthening its relations with Russia, signing several agreements in areas such as energy and transport. The Russian oil company Rosneft signed a deal with Cuba late last year to increase oil exports to the island. That is their play. The United States, while the United States is worrying about Venezuela and Russia going into Venezuela, Russia is sneaking into Cuba's back door. And that's what they need to stop. If they don't, they need to take their asses back out of Venezuela. The United States does not need to be in Venezuela. However, if Cuba fails to go into Russia, or if Russia fails to get into Cuba and install a military base, if Maduro is still going to be president in Venezuela, they're fine with putting a military base. That's their second choice. But Russia is acting like it's all interested in Venezuela right now, when that's really their second choice and their main plan is Cuba. And the United States probably knows this. They probably know that Russia is trying to get into Venezuela. And that's what Russia wants them to think. But the real play is Cuba. I'm 100% positive. And like I said, if that is not the plan, which I see it, there's about 4 steps. It's simple. He's just pulling a rabbit out of a hat, saying, "Look over here. Look over at this hand. Why this hand screws you over?" I'm just saying that's what's going on. He's using Venezuela as a decoy. It's exactly what he's doing. They done it in 1962. The USSR did it in 1962. They used Turkey. It was Russia, Turkey, Cuba, and the United States. And right now, there's Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, and the United States. Same exact thing. Same exact thing. But in 1962, the United States made Russia go back in and Cuba to dismantle them, to dismantle the silos, and they turned around and put a bunch of sanctions on there. But this time when Russia gets into Cuba, I don't think anybody's going to stop. The United States is not going to stop Russia from getting into Cuba, I don't think. I don't think they are. Russia's gotten too big. They're a superpower. If they told the United States, if the United States told Russia they can't have nuclear weapons or a military base in Cuba, that would be war on. Because the United States has a military base everywhere. And I think Russia's trying to do the same thing. I'm pretty positive. So let me read this back to you. And that way it seems a little easier, because I may have, a lot of people may not get what I'm saying. So let me reread this. Venezuela is really easy to figure out. It's simple. All this is actually really simple. So this whole ordeal is because Russia seems to want to put a base in Venezuela. And like I said, it's not over oil. All this is not over oil. It's not all over a humanitarian crisis. If Maduro got elected, then Russia would have a base in Venezuela. And as I said, Venezuela is Russia's second choice. So the U.S. sent the CIA to screw crap up so Maduro wouldn't get elected, which they did. Just the proof on that. Riots, murders, all the chaos you're seeing on TV, all that is the CIA. Here's the proof on that. If the CIA could get the other guy elected, which he probably knows about the whole plan, and the CIA is protecting him, then no Russian base in Venezuela. And then there would be no Russian base in Venezuela. Here's the proof with that. CIA went down there trying to help the other guy get elected. So if the other guy was elected, they wouldn't have a Russian base there. If there was no Russian base there, if CIA did get that other guy elected, you would see Venezuela would be an economic miracle overnight, over the next year. Because once they're trying to, the United States is trying to keep Venezuela as an ally. They really didn't do much down there in the first place. The United States didn't. They really don't do much in the southern hemisphere. Not very much at all. So, plus, if the CIA wasn't helping Maduro's opponent, he would have already disappeared or been locked up and couldn't run like he did the rest of his opponents. That's how you know someone was protecting him. So, all these opponents, December 11th, 2018, all these opponents, here's the proof for that. Maduro has murdered, locked up, banned people from running against him. This one guy that the United States is backing, he's still alive. He wasn't banned. He ran against him. So how did that happen? I'll tell you how it happened. Boom. What I'm telling you makes so much sense. If the CIA wasn't helping that guy, he would be long gone. So the opponent didn't get elected. The CIA failed. Maduro as president. That caused the U.S. to pucker its butthole up. Then they brought in the UN and went public showing all the bad stuff happening. And I can pull that up if you want. I can show proof of that. U.S. I spelled it wrong. One day ago, Mike Pompeo went to had a UN Security Council meeting over Venezuela. There's your proof for that. So the reason they brought the UN in was to show the world and the UN all the bad stuff that was happening in Venezuela, which they caused, by the way. The United States caused. Getting ready to put sanctions, getting ready to put sanction after sanction on Venezuela. The U.S. will cripple the country or go to war, one or the other, with Venezuela. Trying to get Maduro out of there. They'll do something. All because they don't want Russia having a base there. But all to keep Russia out of the U.S.'s backyard. But is that it? Is that the plan? Is that their play? Does Russia really want to be in Venezuela? No. They don't. Russia put 2 planes on a base and the U.S. jumped up and threw a fit. Where's Russia in all this? Staying quiet. Venezuela is not Russia's play. It's their second option. Russia's play is Cuba. Venezuela is a distraction. Hey, look over here while I sweet talk Cuba and stick a Russian military base on your front porch. That's what he's doing to Cuba right now. There's a proof for that. Russia has been sending millions and millions, and this is not the only article. Russia has been sending millions and millions of food aid, medical, and money to buy military equipment to Cuba over the last year, secretly. Now, if Russia can't get Cuba, that's a bad loss for them. But they can still get their second choice, which is Venezuela, and they can still put a military base a little further down in the U.S.'s backyard, the U.S. is still not going to like it. Otherwise, the U.S. wouldn't be in Venezuela right now, going to ape shit. And by putting a air base in Venezuela, they would scare the crap out of the U.S. And they would scare the crap even more out of the U.S. if they put it in Cuba. And everybody thinks that they'll probably just do the same thing they did last time, and Cuba Cuba can't put a military base in Cuba, or Russia can't put a military base in Cuba. Yeah, yes they will. And then the United States, there's no way for them to get them out. No way. Russia would go to war with them before they left. And I think that may be the other part of this. I think war is the whole part of this, because they have done nothing but, Russia has done nothing but sit on the sideline and mediate and they've pushed the United States into a direction that they shouldn't have went into. Now, it's either that's what's happening. I know that's what's happening. But just if I'm wrong, just if I'm wrong, then there's another plan. Russia is trying to provoke the United States into a conflict that will be their fault and make them look like they are the bad guys. So then every country will hate them, will hate us. And right now, they're doing a good job of it. Really, they are. A lot of countries hate us right now. A lot of countries hate our president. And the UN will stop backing us. The UN just lost the rest of its superpower abilities and curl up and cry, or the U.S. is going to be blown to hell. Proof? U.S. has a problem with North Korea. Russia says don't mess with them. U.S. has a problem with Syria. Russia says don't mess with them. U.S. has a problem with Venezuela. Russia says don't mess with them either. All in 2 years. Russia's involved in all of this. The main point, Russia has a plan for the U.S. And they're pushing them in that direction. Whether it's war, whether it's taking their superpower abilities away, whether Russia wants to be the new superpower, they're working on it. The plan's in motion, either way. So, isn't it odd that Russia all of a sudden started training at the Russian-North Korean border right before all North Korea started launching off missiles? Well, yeah. And in my opinion, that was just an excuse to be on the border. And I don't think North Korea actually had nuclear weapons. They don't have the money or the technology to do any of that. Somebody was helping them. I think the nukes and the ICBMs came from Russia. And I think that they needed to get those nukes across the border, and they needed a way to hide it. So what did they do? Russia puts out a press release stating that they've been military training at the border of North Korea and Russia. They stuck a press release out stating that. It was even said that here. After that happened, all of a sudden North Korea is launching nuclear weapons. And that's how they hid it. Their military was already at the border training. So what do they, all it takes is for them to just push some missiles over there. Oh, well, we ain't doing nothing. We're just over here. We're just little old Russian soldiers training over at the border. They never go to the border any other time with North Korea. It just so happens you're over there training in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden North Korea just starts shooting off, testing nuclear warheads. Give me a break, dude. I used to be a bad person. I used to be not a good person, and I changed. I know what I see bullcrap when I see it. And most who had a life like me before can tell you, you can see this crap. You can see common sense stuff happening. You can see when somebody's trying to pull the wool over your eyes because you spent most of your life on the street. I'm not saying you lived on the street. I'm just saying you lived by the street. Half my life was spent living by street rules. The other half I spent living in the country, out in the country with my family. I was raised two different ways. The first part of my life, I was raised to take care of myself, to live off the land. And then the second half, I was raised by the streets. I done whatever I needed to do out on the streets. And at the same time, I mean, do you know how much common sense that a life with those two things in it could bring you? It can bring you more knowledge about surviving than anything else will. Those two things. So I know, I can see I can put all this together very easily. It's really, really easy. And no, I wasn't looking at any of this stuff when I figured any of this out. I wasn't looking at any of this. Over the past 15, 20 years or so, I hated school. I mean, I was in advanced chemistry when I was in high school, and then I took computer tech training. I could have been. They give you a job straight out of vocational school in high school. You're still in high school, and Microsoft gives you a job while you're in high school, making $40,000 a year straight off. That was back in the late 2000s, 2001. They gave you you're in high school taking a vocational class that it's college credit. You get 2 full college credits for a vocational class, and they give you a job straight out of when you complete the classes for Microsoft. You work for Lexmark. That was then. Anyway, I just wanted to let you all know that the stuff with Venezuela, it's all just what's his name in Wolf of Wall Street? It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. It's fake. Venezuela is fake. What's going on there is fake right now. The real play is in Cuba. That's where Russia wants to be. Imagine Russia pulling a military base in Cuba. What happened the last time? We almost went to World War III. We had 1,429 B-52s on 15-minute standby. We were, if you were to use the death clock and it's 2 minutes to midnight and all that stuff, we were about 10 minutes past midnight on that day. Yeah. I'd say that the United States had nuclear bombers in the air in 1962 on that day. What do you think is going to happen now? The United States has a choice. They can either stop messing with Venezuela and just start focusing on Cuba. Who cares if Russia is in Venezuela? Nobody cares. That's too far away. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't keep a country in their own country while your country is spread out amongst every other country. You can't, that's not the way it works. Let Russia have Venezuela. Let them have it. Don't let them get one in Cuba. That's what you don't want. Once Russia puts a military base in Cuba, for one, the United States power goes floop. I'm telling you. And that's why I'm making this video, is because everybody thinks that Venezuela is all about oil and all that. It's not. It's about Russia putting a military base in Venezuela. That's what it's about. That's what they want to do. And that's not even their main play. That's not even their main play at all. Russia wants Cuba. That's what they want. Now, if they get a base in Venezuela, so be it. And I say, if I was the United States, let them have it. Let them have it. You just ain't putting one. You're just not putting one in Cuba. And the United States should let them put one in Venezuela. If that's what they want to do, let them put one there. And then publicly come out and say, you know what? We don't have a problem with that. And that's exactly what they need to do. And then they need to turn around and give Cuba about $100 billion. The United States does. That's what they need to do. They let the relationship with Cuba slip. They neglected Russia, the relationship with Cuba. They didn't talk to them. They didn't have nothing to do with them during all those times there was the Cuban embargo and all those sanctions. The United States just let them sit down there by themselves. Well, guess who come up and held their hand during that time? Russia. Russia did. Russia's holding their hand right now. So what do y'all think? Do y'all think what I'm saying is correct? Do you think that Russia's main play is Venezuela, is Cuba? You think Venezuela is just it's a fagoozy. It's I mean, they're trying to get a base there. But that's not their main play. That right, Venezuela is, look at this hand while this hand is doing something else. They got their main hand over in Cuba while they're making you look at Venezuela. That's what Russia's doing. The United States knows that, but they don't want the people to know that. But I know it is. It's an exact replica of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. A lot of people, like I said, a lot of people don't understand or know that during the Cuban Missile Crisis, that Turkey was involved with that. It wasn't just Russia, Cuba, and the United States. There was actually a government coup going on in Turkey. That's where the United States' attention was at. And while their attention was there, Russia snuck in Cuba's and the United States' back door. They set up shop on their front porch. And that's exactly what they did. And and the United States almost caused World War III over it. Both of them did. Russia and the United States almost were in World War III. This time, but Russia did agree to back off. But that's only after the United States said, okay, well, we'll pull our 100 nuclear missiles out of Turkey. And Russia backed off. They dismantled all the silos in Cuba, and they went back to their country. This time, they're not going to do that. This time, Russia's not going to Cuba to have nuclear weapons there. That's not what they're doing. All this has to do with a country standing up to the United States. That's what Russia's play is. That's what they're doing. Russia puts a military, of all people, Russia puts a military base in Cuba. The United States has a problem with it. Oh, they will. This time Russia isn't going to budge. They're not going to budge. And all that will tell all the other countries, hey, you don't have to be pushed around by the United States. You don't have to do all this, that, and other. Our government has pushed so many countries around and done so much bad shit to other countries that they've put their own citizens at risk. That's why I say, I put out I'm in a Marfugel fan group, and I watch Marfugel News a lot. And I posted something the other day there that said, hey, if Red Dawn happened, could you survive it, or something like that? It's a 100% chance that the United States will be invaded by either China or Russia. 100% chance. If not them, there still is a 100% chance, because every country in history has been invaded. Every country in history has been invaded. It just so happens that the United States hasn't had to endure that yet, even though they go to countries themselves and bomb the crap out of them and leave their cities in ruins. And then when somebody comes here and does it, they don't like it. And it's horrible. And I'm not talking about 9/11 or anything like that. I'm just talking in generalities. They won't like it. And that's not the point. The point is that they've, for a long time, let political crap push bad crap on the citizens. Our government has turned. You've made our own citizens of the United States scared because of your actions, because of the government's actions. And our government needs to change that around. It's all a money laundering scheme. It's the biggest money laundering scheme in history. And the biggest theft case in history. Our money goes to a few family that owns the major banks. We don't even have the United States doesn't even own the right to print their own money. The United States is a sovereign country, and we can't even print our own money when we want to. That's not even our money. The United States doesn't own any money. We don't have our own currency. On all your money, look at it. It says Federal Reserve Note. The United States does not own the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is privately owned. I mean, we don't even own money. We don't even have currency. A bank made our currency. A person like me made the currency you use every day. And then I turned around and said, hey, you have to pay me to use it. Which is taxes. You have to pay me taxes to use the money that I give you. That money doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Federal Reserve. The money doesn't even belong to the United States. Like I said, all this Venezuela stuff, there's a bigger scheme out there. There's a bigger scheme to it. It's a whole lot. It's not really. It's really simple to figure out. I figured it out in about 4 minutes. You know, I figured it out in about 4 minutes. So, I mean, what do y'all think? Do y'all think there's what is that? Is that the documents from? That looks like the documents from I don't know what that is. Sorry. Anyway, do you all think I'm right? Do y'all think what I'm saying is right? Leave it down in the comments. You know, subscribe to my videos. Every show I put up, it's a common sense approach. It's not a bunch of bull crap. I bring you sources. I bring everything that I can. I don't just sit here and talk. I show you proof of what's going on. And I don't show proof from something else that has nothing else to do with, you know, I didn't show you proof of nothing else that doesn't have anything to do with Russia. I didn't show you proof of Syria being part of Russia's scheme or a Syrian newspaper. I didn't do none of that. Everything that I showed you was all common sense stuff. And that's what this channel is about. And you can, like the conspiracy, all the conspiracy theories, you can use common sense and tell which one's legit and which one's not. You can tell which one's legit and which one's not. And that's what you'll find on my channel. Legit, common sense, conspiracy, proof, and sources. That's what you'll find. All right, people. If you all like my this video today, comment, tell me what you all think. Like, share my videos, man. Share them. I need some more subscribers. I like talking. I mean, I've been sitting here talking for an hour and 12 minutes. I might get some people to call in. I might try to do it in. I know a lot of people has been doing the Mark Fugel call-in show, and a lot of channels have been copying off of that. You know, it's easier to talk to somebody, to have a conversation with somebody else, than it is to sit there and talk by yourself. You know, it is. It really is. So, you know, I hope I'm doing better with my shows. I think I've got, I think, probably 3,000 minutes of watched video, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud that people's watched 3,000 minutes of my videos in such a short period of time. Anyway, I just need those people who watch it to like my videos and to subscribe. So don't just watch, like and subscribe. Hit the notification button. Don't hit the notification button. But I really want you to know when I have new videos out. I mean, if you all want me to research anything, and you know, I'll research whatever you want me to. and put, you know, and put my own research spin on it, which is the common sense approach. And I tell you what, I do smoke, and a lot of people probably don't like that. But I tell you what, if I can get to at least 50,000 subscribers or something like that, I'll quit smoking. If I can get to 50,000 subscribers, if I can get to 50,000 or 100,000 subscribers, I quit. All right, everybody. This is Disclosure TV, disclosing Venezuela. Peace out.